Now, question 2.1. Or they say TD sells traditional belts. Then they tell us that the cost of producing each belt is 90 rand. Yeah, but already here, what are we given here? Cost. Oh gosh. Okay. They gave us the cost. What is this? Actually, this information that is given to us there.
Is it the rate?
It's not the rate.
Isn't it just the price for one belt for
But what
producing?
price? But what price? Remember, Kwana is selling price. Kwana is cost price.
It's the cost price.
Right. So here we're given the cost price. Okay. And they're telling us that the cost price is 90 rand. So for one belt, okay, right, it's 90 rand. Then they tell us that she sells, okay, the belts for 270. Do you see what is that given to us there?
The selling price.
Selling price. They say she pays a monthly rental fee of 800 rand for a style and a monthly rental fee of 100 rand for the machine she uses to produce the bells. What? That information there in bullet number 3, it's telling us about what exactly? Where will this information become handy? What is that information?
The third bullet point. Aren't those her expenses?
Okay, but what kind of expenses?
I don't know.
Remember,
Well,
I said, Tepo,
isn't it the fixed cost?
Nazoge. It's the fixed expenses. Remember, guys, they're telling us here that she is paying a monthly rental fee and a monthly rental fee. So, in actuality, we can say what this person is actually paying for the premises where she's going to be making these bills. And she's also paying for the machine that she's going to use every month to make these belts. So we can actually see that the fixed expenses are actually how much? The expenses that remain the same every single month, irregardless of how many belts she sells. What are the fixed expenses?
The rent and the rent for both of the stuff for the store and the 100 rand for the machine.
Good. Okay, so we can see that we've got the fixed expenses of 900 rand. Okay, please think like this. As you're going through the information, think, is this a fixed expense? What is this? Is this a cost price? Is this a selling price? You need to think like this. And you also need to, the minute you look at a question in your mind, you must already be asking yourself, what is the concept that is being assessed here? Because the minute you start to, narrow down the content, you're like, oh, here I'm dealing with a financial document, then you're already now also narrowing down, certain information that your brain needs to take out. Okay, so here I can say, oh, it's cost price and selling price. Already my mind is now, it's there by the break-even analysis, but by the cost price and selling price, by the formulas that I already need to know, those 3 formulas that, right? So you need to make sure that as you're going through the concepts, ask yourself, what is the concept here? What is the concept here? So that you're also helping your brain remember, okay, here I just need to focus on this. I need to remember this. Okay, okay, that's what works for me. All right, so table 4, income and expenditure of selling traditional belts. All right, so here they've basically given us a table. This table is just telling us, right, if I sell maybe 0 belts, what is the income that I'll make? Obviously 0. You've sold 0 belts, you're going to make 0 income. If I've sold 1 belt, what is the income that I'm going to make? 270. It makes sense because the selling price of 1 belt is 270, right? So if I sell 1, I should be making 270. Good, right? And then it goes on to if I sell P belts. So we already see that there by P, we are going to be solving for a unknown. There, right? We already know. Remember what I said here. If you are trying to solve for income, remember we're dealing with income, cost price, selling price. If you're trying to calculate income. Total income of a business. Remember what I said? To get the total income, right? So let me just try to move this to the left, okay? To get the total income that a business was going to make, what did I say? I say you take the number of items sold, you can just say even number of items, multiplied by, what did I say? Selling
Yes, it-
price. How? Right. So that is how we are going to go about calculating what the income. You just take the number of items multiplied by, right, the selling price. Then same here again, right? Remember, if I want to calculate what are the total expenses, right? Please just add total expenses for a business. I'm just going to take the fixed expenses. So in this case, we already know that the fixed expenses is the 900 rand. Plus, I said it's the variable expenses. Ne? Then I said you can further redefine the variable expenses. So it's just going to be the fixed expenses. At this case, I know that the fixed expenses is going to be that 900. It doesn't change for this business. Plus, what is the variable expenses? I said it's going to be number of items produced multiplied by cost price, right? So we need to be thinking along these lines, right? When we are looking at, the information, okay, that is given to us there. All right, let's see if we can put this to good use, Tepo. Now, study the information given in table 4 above to answer the following questions. But to calculate the total fixed costs A of selling the traditional belt. How can we calculate the total fixed costs, Tepo?
And for us to calculate the total fixed cost, we are going to
Onjo, what are the fixed costs made up of based on the information that is given to us here?
the fixed cost is 800 plus 100 is one
Good.
and
That's
100.
it, right? Yeah, so the fixed costs here, the total fixed costs of selling the traditional is just 900 rand. Okay, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, now let's look at question 2.1.2. It says, show that the income that TD will receive from selling 5 traditional belts is 1,350. What do you think we're supposed to do there? Show that the income that TD will receive from selling 5 traditional belts is 1,350.
As it's already shown there, I think we are going to
Konja, how do we calculate income, total income?
we are going to take the number of items multiplied by selling price.
Good. So to get the income, remember we said that the income is equal to number of items. I'm just going to say N multiplied by selling price. Okay. So the number of items, but how many items?
They said 5.
Good. So I'm going to take 5 belts multiplied by, what's the selling price for one belt?
Or it's 90 rand.
Mm-mm.
No,
Remember,
it's
there's a difference
200
between
and cost yes, ma'am. It's 270.
270. So if we take 5 multiplied by 270, what are you getting?
It's 1,350.
1,350. Okay, so we've basically shown that the income that TD will receive from selling the 5 traditional belts is that. Okay, last one. Question is the last one. 2.1.3. Determine the value of P. All right, so here we need to think, Getep. How do you think we need to go about calculating that missing value P? What do you think?
Ma'am, I think we have to apply the method you introduced to us of solving for an unknown item.
Right. So which formula am I going to use here? Because there's 2 formulas. Which one do you want to use for us to solve for P? Once I give you time to think.
Ma'am, we want to know the number of items.
So tell me what I need to do. You must tell me if you want me to help you out, okay?
Yes, ma'am, please help me out. I think I need
Okay.
a raise. And yes.
Okay, so here, if we say, okay, I want to solve for P, I know, right? Remember, if I want to solve for P, right, in this situation, okay, I can either work with the income or I can either work with the expenses. You should still get the same answer. Now, let me show you. Let's say I decide that I want to work with my income, right? I'm going to just do it here on the side so that I don't have to go down, up and down. Now, remember, all the time, I've been saying this, guys, start with what you know. Okay, we already know that, okay, how do I calculate my income? I say income, and it is equal to number of items multiplied by what?
Multiply by selling price.
Selling price. Right. Now, what is the income currently? Because remember, I'm focusing on this column here. So on this column, what is the income?
It's
2,160
2,160.
equals. Do I know what the number? What is the number of items?
We don't know the number of items.
So I can use P, ne? I need to, I'm trying to look for P. I can put
Yes.
my P there. Multiplied by, what is the selling price for the belt?
It's 270.
Nanko, 270. That's it. Now, do you see what I'm trying to solve for here now?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to solve for what?
For the P.
Good. So what did I say, Gemach? Because we are trying to solve for P, but what is happening between the P and the 270?
I think you have to say P is equals to, then you have to, the values need to change.
How?
P is equals to, going to take 270 minus 2,160 minus 270.
So for me to get the P on its own, remember, I said that you always need to ask yourself, okay, what is happening? I guess I've got this P here. I want this P to be on its own. Do you agree? But you can't
Yes.
say you can't say I have to minus the 270. Because for me to say that I'm going to minus the 270, that basically means that you are adding 200. But are we adding 270 here? What's happening between the P and the 270? They are multiplying. Do you see? So I'm saying P multiplied by 270. So I say to you guys, if you want to solve for an unknown, you always need to apply the inverse, right, of what is happening, okay, between the unknown and the other given value. So do you see that it's P multiplied by 270? So I'm trying to get rid of that 270. So for me to get rid of that 270, I'm not going to minus 270. That's going to be incorrect. Because if I'm minusing the 270, you are basically saying that it's P plus 270 is equal to 2. That's how, if it was like this, then it would make sense for me to then minus 270 because the inverse of addition is subtraction. But in this case, because we are multiplying 270, for me to get rid of the 270, I'm not going to minus 270, but I'm going to do what? What's the inverse of multiplication?
Division.
Thanks. I'm going to divide, okay, by 270. So you always, guys, please, you always do the inverse, okay, operation. I want to get rid of the 270. I am multiplying by the 270. So for me to get rid of the 270, I have to divide by the 270. And because I'm dividing on the right-hand side, I need to also divide on the left-hand side. So I'm also going to divide by 270 on the left-hand side. What will you notice? 270 divided by 270, that gives you P.
It's
You left us with
1.
P. Right, which is 1. Good, right? And then from here, 2,160 divided by 270. What are we getting as our P?
It's 8.
Thank you. Right. So that basically means here, the number of items sold here, it's 8. Okay, it's 8 belts sold. Okay, so if you want to determine the value of P, remember I said there, just to reiterate, it's going to be standard formula. Income is equal to your number of items multiplied by selling price. Okay, then remember here, we're already given what the income is. We are focusing on this column that I've basically put the flower around. Okay, so the income is 2,000, right? 160 is equal to, we are trying to determine number of items, that's P. Okay, multiplied by what's our selling price for one belt? 270. Then I want to solve for P. I want to find out what is the value of P. I want my P to be on its own on the right-hand side. So for me to be able to isolate this P, right, I need to always think about inverse, 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 inverse to the power of infinity squared, please. You need to think of inverse when you're solving your simple linear equations. Okay, because I'm multiplying, okay, by 270, for me to get rid, because I want to get rid of the 270, I need to divide by 270. Okay, if you divide by 270 on the right, I also need to, what you do on the right, you need to do on the left, please, right? So you divide by 270 there. Therefore, you'll see that this cancels, okay? Because one is at the top, one is at the bottom, right? Therefore, your P is equal to 8 belts, right? Please, even if I give you this equation, please look at this. If I say to you, 2,500 is equal to B minus 760. And I said to you, solve for B. What are you supposed to do in this situation to solve for B? Okay. So for me to solve for B, what is happening between this B and this? Remember the number, this number goes with this side, right? So because I'm minusing, okay, 760, when I want to isolate this B, what must I do on the right-hand side? I will just do what? I will plus 700. Do you see? What is the inverse of subtraction? Addition. Do you see? When I plus 760 on the right-hand side, if I'm plusing 760 on the right, I will also plus 760 on the left. Then negative 760 plus 760, they cancel, right? You'll be left with B because this is actually equal to 0. It's like saying B plus 0. B plus 0 is B, which is equal to then 2,500 plus 760. This basically gives us 3,260. Same here. If I say 3,750 is equal to C plus 550, then I say to you, please solve for C. Same thing here. Because I can see what is happening between this C and this number. Do you see it's C plus? Okay, the sign goes with the number, right? In this case, right? So we can see that C plus 550. Okay, so if I want to get rid of the 550 rands, right? What do I need to do? I need to do the inverse, okay, of addition, which is subtraction. So I'm going to minus 550 to cancel it out on the right. And what I do on the right, I need to do on the left. I'm going to also minus 550 on the left. Then you'll see plus 550 minus 550. That leaves you with C plus 0. C plus 0 is C, which is equal to 3,750 minus 550, which gives us 3,200. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. When you're solving for an unknown, you always need to think of the inverse. Okay, what is happening between that unknown and a number that is given to you there?
So let's set it and show the world we mean business.
Last example. Okay, even if they give you this, all right, they say 7,500 is equal to C divided by 750. Yeah, but again, what is happening between the C and this number? All right, that's given to us. So you can see that they are dividing, because I mean, you can't touch the unknown. That is what we're trying to solve. You see, we want to solve for C. So we're not touching that number. Okay. So we want to solve for C. So if I'm dividing by 750, I want to get rid of that 750. What must you always do? You always need to think of inverse operations. If I'm dividing by a number, what's the inverse of division? In this case, it's multiplication. So I'm going to multiply in this case by 750 to cancel it out. What you do on the left, I need to also do on the right. I will also multiply by 750. What will happen? One is at the bottom, one is at the top. They're canceling. Therefore, C times 1 is the same as saying C is equal to 7,000. Okay, 7,500 times 750. You're getting a huge number of, is it 5,625,000. Okay, so please, right, just think of this in this way. Okay, if you think of it like that, you won't make any mistake. Okay, just think about inverse, inverse, inverse. What is the inverse of addition? Subtraction. If I'm not subtracting, I'm adding. If I'm not dividing, I'm multiplying. If I'm not multiplying, I'm dividing. Okay, using that thinking will help you when it comes to solving for unknowns. You will definitely be solving for unknowns, cost price and selling price. You will definitely be solving for unknowns, BMI. You will definitely be solving for unknowns, volume calculations. If they really want to beef up intensities in these questions, they will want you to solve for unknowns. Okay, so if you really, really want to take it a step, take it a notch up. Okay, you need to now start. Even if you could just go to just look at grade 8, solving as algebraic equations, simple ones. Okay, and then you get into the habit of solving for an unknown, thinking about inverse operations. Thinking if I'm solving for x, okay, if I'm adding 2, that means I must minus that 2, okay, for me to get the x. You just think along those lines. I promise you, even when it comes to data handling, they can give you these questions where you are dealing with mean, you're calculating your mean, where they give you values and you have to solve for unknown. You'll be able to tackle those questions with ease. Even if you interquartile range, sometimes they can give you the interquartile range. They can give you Q3, you must solve for Q1. That one. So if you're not comfortable with playing around with, finding an unknown, okay, you're gonna lose those marks, right? And I don't want you to lose those marks. So please, okay, just get into the habit of, thinking in this way. I promise you, if you just learn sometimes to just do the things that just make us a bit uncomfortable, because I don't know, most of maths literacy learners, they don't want to get to a point where we are solving for an unknown. Okay, please just try to take it that level. Just take it as a step up. Okay, I promise you, if you can just solve these simple equations, okay, for an unknown, you already can guarantee yourself like an 80%. Okay, you need to think in this way, especially also for paper 1, if you want to be getting these additional marks, 2 marks, 3 marks, they add up to your distinctions. Okay, where you've got a formula, you substitute the values into it. You need to think like that. If you've got a formula, even in question 2.2.2, in 2.9.2, we have a formula, we substituted values into the formula, we calculated an amount. Here again, we had a formula, We substituted the values into the formula that we already know. Then you're solving for an unknown. Okay, please try to challenge yourself and think in that way. I'm going to also challenge you to also do this one. Look at this one. Or question 2.1.3. We can solve it in this way. We can even use expenses. Remember I said for 2.1.3, it's an or, ne? You can either use this way or that way, okay? Whichever one. But I'm challenging you to please look at this. You can say, remember we said to calculate expenses. What is the formula for expenses? What is the formula for expenses? Total expenses of a business. The standard formula to help us calculate total expenses. Any ideas? Must we call it a night?
Isn't it fixed expenses plus variable expenses?
Good. Fixed expenses plus variable expenses. And then fixed expenses for this, the total expenses, the amount that was given to us was how much?
1,620.
I write there. Under the expenses, 1,620 equals. What are the fixed expenses for this person's business?
900 rand.
I put it there. 900 rand. Plus. How did I say we calculate variable expenses? How do you calculate the variable expenses?
Other variable expenses, the other expenses that are not fixed.
Okay, you're correct, but how do we calculate them?
I don't know.
Guys, it's there, ne? On the board.
Oh, the number of items times the cost price.
Thank you. Number of items multiplied by cost price. Let's continue to substitute further. 1,620 done equals to 900 done plus. What are the number of items here? What are we trying to get? Do you see that we're trying to get the number of items here? P multiplied by. What is the cost price for these belts?
90.
90. Okay, so here, do you see? Again, we've got an unknown. Ne? We've got an unknown. Our unknown here is P. But do you see that now in this case, right? It's like I'm basically dealing with 1,620 is equal to 900 plus I've got P multiplied by, okay, 90 rand. So here, I'm still trying to solve for P, right? But now what are we seeing? We can see that firstly in this situation, if I want to solve for P, I first have to, you can't start off by dealing with this number, okay? Because this number where they say it's P multiplied by 90, it's attached to that P. We can't touch it as yet because we still have this number there. Okay, so we first need to remove that number that doesn't have that unknown, the 900. Okay, so because it's positive 900, do you see that there's no sign in front of this number? It's a positive 900. So if I want to remove this positive 900 from the right-hand side and I want to take it to the left-hand side, I'm just going to say 1,620 minus 900. Do you see? I've already removed it because I just applied the inverse operation there. Then what am I left with here on the right-hand side? I'm just left with P multiplied by 90. Please, this is just multiplied by 90. Okay, so if a number is attached to an unknown, okay, through multiplication, you can't touch that number yet or that term yet. You first need to deal with the other terms that do not have the unknown. Okay, now if you check here, if you take 1,620 minus 900, you'll see that you get 720 is equal to P multiplied by 90. Now, what was left for us to do? If you want to solve for P, remember, same thing here now. Now we can, remove that 90. How can we remove that 90? You perform the inverse operation. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to divide because I'm multiplying it by 90. I want to cancel out my 90, so I'm going to divide by 90. What you do on the right, I need to do on the left. I'm going to divide by 90. Do you see that we're still getting the same answer of P is equal to 8? Okay, so you can either do this way or you can either do this way. Okay, but then with this or way, it's just for you to just practice and see. Just practice solving, your equations for n unknown. Okay, right. We're still here? Yeah, still here. Okay. Any questions based on this part?